Hey, this is Bill Moseley. I play Otis in House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects and Chop Top and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And you're listening to withoutyourhead.com. Don't touch that dial or I will lick your plate. Oh, no.
All right, and welcome to the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head. I am Nasty Neal.
This is Annabelle Lecter.
Yes, and we're joined by independent writer and director Scott Lyus of Crossroads Pictures.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
How you doing?
Hey.
Yeah. It's nice to have you here. You've got a whole new thing coming out, Silently with Your New Shadow. So tell us and the audience a little bit about this project, or you can tell them a lot about the project.
Well, to start with, it's an independent short film project. It's a story, character-driven horror film, so try doing something a little bit different to your classic blood and guts horrors that everyone seems to be doing today. Most of note, it's got horror legend Bill Moseley of Devil's Rejects fame, who voices our ventriloquist dummy, Hugo. And we've got a couple of up-and-coming independent stars in the film. Indiegogo funded, so hopefully we're going to impress our backers and the small amount of fans we have. Hopefully we're going to get a few more.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
So when is it due for release? I know there's a couple teaser trailers out right now people can find on YouTube. You can look up Silently Within Your Shadow or Crossroad Pictures or Scott Lyus, which Scott is regular spelling of Scott, Lyus. So when can they expect more? When are they going to get the big reveal?
Well, right now, we're looking at film festival submission. So we just made the Fright Fest deadline.
Excellent.
Which is, obviously in a massive UK horror festival. And now we're looking at US festivals. Obviously, we want to kind of support, what we're doing over here in the UK, but as everyone knows, the big market is out in the US, so it'll be great to get out there and show it off to a few people out there. A few of our backers are from America, so it would be lovely for them to see it. So that's probably our plan for the next couple of months. After that, we're probably looking at putting together a few private screenings like we did for my previous films, and then sometime after that, we'll go on YouTube with the rest of the stuff.
Mm-hmm. If people in America, so if you're going to do, England's all set, you're good to go with that. People will know where to find that. If they want to find you, a screening or a film festival, what's the best place for them to go to look into that and be able to see it?
Well, right now, the best place is probably via my Twitter account or Facebook, my Facebook account, or even the Crossroad Pictures Facebook account. All the announcements are on there if we're lucky enough to play festivals, if we're doing certain screenings here and there. We're even in talks about possibly doing a few horror cons out in the US. Mm-hmm. So all information in the next couple of months will be coming out via that.
That's great. So,
how did you get Bill Moseley involved?
Well, to be honest with you, I would love to have a really, really cool story. It was actually quite easy. Basically, when I wrote the screenplay for the film, I we're in the UK, and I kind of just envisioned we would be putting English actors in the role, and I was lucky enough that my lead actress Sophie, who was in the film, is American. So it kind of gave me the idea of, well, if she's American, she grew up with this doll, it probably stands true that the doll would be American itself. So I just thought, who would be the best if I could get anyone? If I could just have it, my pick of anyone, who would it be? And Bill Moseley was that person, to be honest with you. And then I was just lucky enough to email his manager the script, and turns out he really liked it, got back to me, and we agreed to do the film.
Nice.
So I was really lucky, to be honest with you.
So even though it was a really simple process, basically to get him, as you'd said, how does it feel to have this guy? Like you said, he's been in like Rob Zombie movies. He's doing other independent stuff. So this is the guy that was in Texas Chainsaw 2. He has a history in horror, so that must be amazing.
Oh, that is that was like the biggest thing for me. Like every film I make, I try and step it up as much as I can, and so does the crew I work with, and that we don't have a lot of money, we don't have the most amazing equipment in the world, so it's always about the next film. Let's try and do something else. So this one become, when I decided, like, well, what if we could get a name, if you will, to voice Hugo? That was like then the goal. So it was like, who can I get in there? And also, can I really? Is someone, like you said, that's been in all them films, or anyone else for that matter that works in Hollywood or is an established film star, would they even want to be involved in my project? Would there be an interest for them? It's only a short film project. It's not something that's getting, a major cinema release. So for me, as soon as Bill was signed on and Bill did agree to do it, that was a huge confidence for me, a huge confidence for everyone in the film, because all of a sudden now you're not just people that are attracting indie people like ourselves, but people like Bill Moseley are now all of a sudden taking notice. So it was probably like one of the most amazing things that's happened to me so far, to be honest with you, and I feel extremely lucky to have him involved.
And since his role is that of a voice, made it doable. If he was going to be actually in the movie, his presence, it probably wouldn't have been possible for you, or you would need a lot more money to fly him over.
Yeah, I mean that probably would come into it. Lucky, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to kind of include him and do it, as cheap as possible, to be honest with you, because we, our budget was a tiny budget, and I wanted you to see, even though we don't have a lot of money, I want the film to look like we had more money, and we probably did, and try and stand it up there against these films that, even some short films you see, they've got all these backers and they have all this money thrown at them, and sometimes it's hard to compete with that when you're coming from like a truly independent scene. So I was lucky enough to get him involved through just the voice work. If I did want him over, then yeah, we would have to fly him over, and it may have been doable, but then we wouldn't have money for other stuff that we put in the film. So it was kind of the best of both worlds this way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice that not only do you have this guy who you really respect and have enjoyed in his own films, it does seem like that will help you a lot. I mean, if you're going to put this out there, he's going to have a natural attraction with his audience. Mm-hmm. So that I would think would be a massive boost.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that was, again, that was part of it. Like, I've done my research. I've looked around, just like any indie filmmaker will, and you soon realise that it's a business at the end of the day, and even film festivals, as much as they want to take any film, they're going to take the films that get people in seats. They're going to take the films that have someone's name on it. And if, first and foremost, I want to make an amazing film, and everyone involved wants to make an amazing film. But like you just said, having his name on it, that, that is going to attract other people, because if I'm just trying to advertise the film with my name, there's like 10 people. I'm like, oh yeah, I know that guy, so I might want to watch it. But that's unfortunately not going to get us into a lot of festivals. But it kind of just gives us extra confidence that maybe with his name on the poster, people might look at us, and all of a sudden you are attracting so many more people to the film, not just new fans either that kind of around the age group of us, but people that grew up with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, all the way through to The Devil's Rejects and obviously modern day horror.
You mentioned festivals a few times. Were you someone who went to festivals before you got involved in making films?
No, to be honest with you, simply because I've been making films ever since I was able to get my hand on a camera. The first film I made, as crudely as it may be, was I had 2 Bride of Chucky like figures. So I just made almost like a stop motion type of film with them. So, and that's when I was like 12 years old. So I've been trying to kind of work my way into it and build myself up. And for years and years through college and coming out of college, it was with friends and family. Mm-hmm. And then I tried jumping in with real cast, real crew, and obviously now on this one jump up a bit more. But festivals are are an extremely important part, I think, to any filmmaker trying to come up, because that's where you do have the opportunity to reach your audience, especially with something like horror. There's quite a few really, really good horror festivals that are just dedicated to horror. So, the passion of the fans, and if you can get out there, play in front of them, and get them to see your film, and if they like your film, then it's a no-brainer.
You just mentioned Chucky, and this movie has a ventriloquist dummy. Is that something that's always interested you? The figures, dummies?
It has actually. It's something that since years ago, I can't really remember the age, but ventriloquist dummies, I don't know, they always just stood out to me. I never really had one myself. I don't really know how to operate them, but there was just something about them, and I just always thought there was a real beauty to the art of ventriloquism as well. Even today with a comedy that people do with it, but more so the older stuff where people used to use it as a storytelling technique that really doesn't exist no more. You don't really, you see it in comedy, you see it in stand-up, but you don't really get these ventriloquists no more that they'll go out and they'll tell stories like that. So it was almost like, for me, just this interest in ventriloquism, and then coming into this film, I kind of just bled that into the screenplay and then made that pretty much the whole film. And this idea of ventriloquism, and it is just this, like so many things, it's this art that is almost dead, is almost gone. So it was a nice way to explore that.
Yeah, something's always creeped me out because I had a Hugo doll when I was very little, and the ad for the movie Magic, when it would come on, that was like the scariest commercial.
Yeah, yeah, they are always things that creep people out. You never really. It's very rare you meet someone that really enjoys the way they look, or really feels comfortable around them. I know when we were making the film and stuff like that, it took people a little while to get used to just having a dummy in the same room and stuff like that, which is just quite weird considering it's just this inanimate object, but still, it's quite funny seeing people's reactions to it.
Yeah. You mentioned it, being kind of like a dead art form in a way, or a dying art form. Did you go and study ventriloquism? Did you read up on it, or did you talk to any old ventriloquists?
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, it was just through the internet. I wasn't lucky enough to go out and see any ventriloquists performing. But yeah, through the internet, I researched deeply into kind of where it come up, and it started getting popular, especially in America. During the 30s, the 40s, and stuff like that. And unfortunately, it was just a bit like theatre and anything. As soon as TV come along, people started going for TV. It kind of transitioned over TV for a while, and then eventually just it turned into the comedy it is now, which isn't a bad thing. But we have just lost the art of the storytelling.
Who actually designed Hugo?
We were lucky enough just to find that dummy on the internet from someone that designs dummies. So that was something that took us a long, long time to work out which dummy to use. The look we wanted, there was a lot of really cool, scary looking dummies out, like really scary ones that were made to look really gothic.
Like Annabelle doll.
Exactly, like
ridiculous
Annabelle.
To me.
That's it. Yeah, it was just some of them were just taken too far, and it almost just. Yeah, while they look cool and you do look at them, you're like, oh, that's freaky. It's almost just insulting a little bit to look at it and be like, oh, I'm meant to be scared of that. That's meant to be creepy.
Yes.
To me, it's far more creepy to look at something that almost looks like it's meant to be cute, almost looks like you're meant to play with, and then that freaks you out, So
yeah, definitely. Neil and I saw the one before Annabelle one, whatever it was, and both of us exactly. This thing is clearly meant to be frightening. No normal person would adopt that doll and have it around. That's
exactly,
It's just silly. It's like, I don't know if you remember the Living Dead dolls. They were regular dolls that were meant to be scary. So you'd have people that were into horror would pick that up, not just an average person. It just was, like you said, it's kind of insulting that they don't think, you've got to spell it out.
Yeah.
Like, this is your scary
exactly.
doll.
Yeah, and for me, it kind of like just takes away from the filmmaking point and trying to make it creepy and trying to make it scary. And you don't have to make everything like a big jump scare, but if you can put something in front of the camera that, when you look at it, necessarily that's not a scary image, but through way of filmmaking, you can try and make that scary. And to me, that's much more of an achievement. And I would much rather have tried doing something like that than just shove Annabelle, if you will, in front of the camera and go for the Conjuring.
Yeah, I think it's more relatable too, because if you see something that's kind of mundane on camera that happens to be haunted or whatever it is, you might actually have something like that around your house, and then you might kind of look like, hey, that's you might not have ventriloquism, you might not have a doll though, or an action figure, and it's kind of looking at you in a way, and you're like, and you just watch your movie, and then you're kind of creeped out about it.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, for me, the beauty of any horror film, I feel like we've lost a lot of today, to be honest with you. We're so concerned with jump scares now and just teasing the audience from the get-go all the way through. And, it's kind of got to this ridiculous point. But the idea of old horror films, which I really liked, is it was like you would be scared. You would be freaked out during the film. But when you go home, that would stay with you. Mm-hmm. And it might, there might just be one thing, just one little thing that freaks you out and stuff like that. So, yeah, exactly like you said, like that was one of the ways we try going with Hugo in this film, that it's just like, even though it is a ventriloquist dummy, it's a very normal looking ventriloquist dummy. It's a very average looking ventriloquist dummy. It could be any kind of doll. And, like you touched on, just if you've got dolls at home, or someone that has dolls at home, you may look at that and it may remind you of it slightly, and that will freak you out. So, that was exactly where to try.
I think it's pretty, what works in horror is you take something that would normally be innocent. A lot of horror, not all horror is like this, but a lot of the successful horror is you take something innocent, like a kid or your next door neighbor or whatever it is, and you make that become dangerous.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think that is what we've lost. I think we're so concerned now with making, we come up with this concept that's like dead scary in itself, and then we have to try and translate that to film now. And I think every horror film's just trying to do that, rather than taking something that is just everyday life and looking at that and going, well, actually there's a lot of terror in stuff we have around the house, or you go out and you might find something a little creepy. But now we're so concerned with making that object or the creature or the entity or whatever it may be, making that the scariest thing in the world, that you kind of like, it's just one dimensional to me. There's not too much to explore.
And I know we'll like movies like that. It's just oversaturation. There are certainly movies where that's the movie and it's enjoyable and that's great. But it's just when that's all you can find, then you can't appreciate that effect.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, unfortunately, it's nothing new. It's been around forever. It happens in music. It happens in movies. It happens in everything. As soon as something becomes popular, that's where the money is. Everyone has to jump on that bandwagon, and that's all we get for the next 10 years. And within all of that crap, the gems that you do have may get lost, or it is just, within the horror genre, probably die-hard horror fans to get to see some real cool original films. But for the most part, people just become used to this constant, bombardment of the same horror film told over and over and over again. And not just horror. I mean, that happens in cinema all the time. Like Liam Neeson's been making the same film now for the last 12 years.
So yes,
has he been in
they've kidnapped another member of his family.
Like a home insurance commercial yet that you know of, Neil? That's the way that a lot of people are going. I feel kind of bad. There's been lots of commercial work. I saw Tommy Lee Jones doing ads for some. It was in Japan. He was doing ads for some coffee drink called Boss. It was like a canned coffee drink. And
Japan have everyone doing ads.
Yeah.
Japan's like the place you go to do an ad.
Because they can hide there.
I think that's it. I think
no
they
one
can make
knows.
a lot of money, and they think no one's going to see it. It's like,
there's like
no one's going to see that.
Yeah, there's like these really classy giant on the side of buildings lit up billboards with Nicolas Cage with watches.
Wow, that don't surprise me in Nick
Yeah.
Cage. To be honest.
No.
Yeah, I think in
No.
I think in Taken 4 they kidnap his dog. That will be the premise.
Really?
I think so. Yeah.
It could happen.
I think he's run out of family members to kidnap. So.
How does it feel being independent, knowing that this is kind of the fight you've got to make? And I mean, your horror. You've got, I believe, 3 horror shorts released, including this one.
Including this one, yeah. This is the third.
And they're much more intelligent than what you're talking about. Not that that's not to insult the people that watch it, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot more thought. You have to actually think about it. You don't just sit back and kind of like, So how does it feel to have that fight? And do you think it's okay because you are independent that maybe people are a lot more open-minded to that?
Kind of. I think if we give an audience the chance, they would be open-minded. I think, unfortunately, the business side of it throws out a lot of the crap we refer to. I don't necessarily think it's what an audience wants. I think maybe it's just what's around. And, if people still love going to the cinema, people still love watching films, you want to watch something new, it's kind of all that's in front of you. It's kind of, all you're picking up at the cinema or at Netflix, at wherever you're going to get your video entertainment. There's kind of all this around. The independent thing, though, it is a double-edged sword. You have got the openness to do pretty much whatever you want. I always like to get people's opinions, and once a screenplay's done, send that around and kind of get a broader look on what people like and stuff like that. But there is no one really telling us like, oh, you've got to put this in there because we've got to sell this, and we've got to make t-shirts, so make sure you've got a slogan in there or whatever. But the other side of that is that, unfortunately, the reality of indie film is not a lot of people get to see it. Not so many people. The reason why there are amazing indie films, but we're not making loads and loads of them, is because a lot of people don't get to see them. You don't. Where I live, there's a few cinemas around here, and they're the major chain cinemas, and you'll be really, really lucky if you get decent films in the cinema. Normally you got to wait for them to come out on Blu-ray or Netflix or whatever. So that's the unfortunate side of indie film. But I do feel really, really lucky that we can tell the stories we want, and we can try and make something a little bit different. But it is hard sometimes to try and get people to buy into that just because of what is put out there all the time. And I think instead of people revisiting, for me, old horror, and looking at the way stories were told and maybe trying to bring a bit of that back but do it in a modern way, we're so concerned with what is around now and making everything that sometimes really, really great independent stuff gets lost within that shuffle.
What are some of your favorite horror films?
My absolute favorite would probably be the original Frankenstein from the 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is, to me, the perfect horror film. It says everything it needs to say, and it says it in such a beautiful and intelligent way. That Frankenstein, to me, is perfect. Coming more modern, or kind of modern, I would say the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That, again, was a really, really great way of doing that film. I really admire the kind of independent way they made that film, to be honest. They kind of just went out in the middle of nowhere and shot this film in the middle of summer in the, boiling heat. And, there are a few horror films that do come out these days that I quite liked, and I like to go back, and the Babadook was probably the last one that I saw, and I'm probably the opposite way to most people on the Babadook. I kind of thought the ending kind of let the film down a little bit.
Yeah,
I was a lot more concerned, and I was actually a lot more scared when it was just like the mum and the son screaming at each other and going back and forth. Then I thought, wow, this is a really powerful, different way to tell a horror film. But then I kind of felt like the end of the Babadook was just, again, it was that, well, we've got to show this scary monster, because that's what everyone's doing at the minute. But, you know, I get why they've done it. I get why you would put that in there, and they have had great success with it. And I think that is a better version of horror these days. But yeah, my overall favourite's probably Frankenstein and the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, not that new Jessica Biel stuff. Is it Jessica Biel?
Not the 3D one.
No, definitely not the 3D one.
Yeah, the Babadook, Neil and I had mixed opinions on, because he fell asleep for the reveal, so he thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And where I saw it, the acting is amazing, though. It's a really well-made movie.
Yeah, it's one of the best. Awesome. It's one of the best child performances.
Oh, without a doubt, it's out of this world. Where they got that kid from and how we put on that performance, I have no idea. That's what an amazing feat that was to get that performance out of that kid.
Yeah. Yeah, he might have some serious issues. I don't know, but he was great in the movie.
He possibly could.
Yeah. How did you find the two leads? So, you know, Bill Moseley obviously has a big name, but how did you find the leads for your film?
My other two leads, Sophie and Byron, that was just done through a series of casting calls on the internet. So a few websites I use, castingcallpro.com, which is, I believe it does everywhere in the world. I think it's for the US as well. Maybe not, but for the UK, it's a great website. So you just kind of put your casting call out on there, and I was lucky enough to get quite a few hits actually on them roles, because it's quite a dynamic relationship between the two. So for an actor, I guess there was a lot for them to explore. And then I was ridiculously lucky to land the two people I landed. They are both just extremely talented, and I know everyone comes out and says this, like, you know, every director of their film is like, oh, my cast is brilliant, they're amazing. But like I've worked with great, like, nice actors before, good actors, people I've got along with, and I've never had a complaint about anyone I've worked with. But Sophie and Byron, when I say actors, I mean they are actors. They, you know, during we would do a take, we would cut, and we're setting up for the next shot, and they wouldn't break character. They'd still be talking to each other in character. They'd be talking about stuff that ain't even in the screenplay. You know, it was absolutely amazing. We had one shot where they had to start out of the flat and walk in, but because they were mic'd up, I could hear everything they were saying, and even in the hallway, they're talking to each other in character and stuff like that. And when you consider these are collaboration-only roles, and, you know, people were doing this for their love of making a film, the love of the story we're all trying to tell, and this idea that we've all put a little something into and we've all come up with, and I really just was blown away by what they put into it. And I hope people will agree and see it, and when they see the film, we absolutely love what these guys have done.
How was it having the small cast of Oblivion, and then you had not a giant cast, but a much bigger cast for Order of the Ram, and now you've come back and you've got, I think, I am assuming, you know, it's only these three people now. So what's the differences there for you?
I mean, to be honest with you, it wasn't. It is something that you may think would be a major change. Obviously, there is a bit of adapting you've got to do, and as a director, your time is, you haven't got as much time with people when you've got a bigger cast. But it was okay, really. I kind of, if I had to pick, I would say I prefer the smaller cast. I prefer, you know, I'm someone that kind of like the films I like are just a couple of people and dialogue heavy a lot of the time, and really getting into the characters. So I think that's probably where I'm most comfortable. But yeah, you're right, on Order of the Ram we had like quite a big cast. There was a lot of people on that, so that just kind of changed it up. The most difficult part is kind of the shooting, working out on screen how much time you're going to give people, and the best way to try and tell the story, and kind of just give not everyone like an equal amount of time, but their character the right amount of time. Make sure their character gets the time that character needs, rather than just overbloating it with one and not giving someone else enough. But it kind of come full circle, because obviously on the first film, you know, we started in a house and it was a couple of people, and then we went out into the woods and shot Order of the Ram, and now we come back for Silent We Hear Shadow, and we're back in, well, we're in a flat this time, but, you know, we've only got a couple of guys again, so kind of did come full circle a little bit. it wasn't that difficult directing wise. But working out the biggest transition from Order around Silent Your Shadow was kind of the working out, how much time you have to give people on screen and how it complements the story best. But Silent Your Shadow kind of flowed very well, actually, to be honest with you, and wasn't hard at all.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think shorts today it's something people will watch more frequently than before in the past?
I think, yeah, to be honest with you, I think today unless you're going to a cinema or you are a film fan and you're prepared to sit down for 2 hours or, even longer in some cases, I think the reality of it is we do live in this world now where people want really quick content. It's the YouTube age, and we went from kind of the film age and then we transitioned to like the music video age and everything was really quick and Michael Bay-ish. And now we're going to like the YouTube age and everything's got to be really short and really, really quick. And people want they want to turn their video on. They want that content in 5 minutes and then they want to turn off and watch something else. So I think short film kind of plays into that. I think if I have a problem with that, it's that my films tend to be longer than what people might consider short films these days. A lot of short films that you see play festivals and a lot of short films that you see out there are kind of up to the 5 minute range, which I think is quite hard to tell a story in that time. I think if you want to get into the characters and you want to get into the story and you've got something to say, really, it's quite hard to do that under 5 minutes. And I prefer kind of 10 minutes and up, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think short films are something that we may see more of. They can be an amazing tool. So yeah, I think short films are what people want to see these days. I think that is where everyone's going. They want their content now. They want it quick, and short film plays into that.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of that has got to be because the three of us aren't the only people getting bored with what horror is out there today. And so people just want to see, okay, this is probably going to suck. So I'm going to watch it for a few minutes. And if it's great, cool, I walk away and I saw it's cool, short. And if not, whatever, it was 5-10 minutes.
I think that's it. I think that is like a massive part of it as well. You can sit there for 2 hours and you can watch a 2 hour film and it may suck. And that's 2 hours that you're like, oh, right, I'm never getting that 2 hours back. Mm-hmm. But in that time, you could watch 10, 20 short films. Yeah. And I'm not saying people will sit there and watch 10, 20 short films, but, on a law of average, you're bound to get some films you really like, and, your time may be better spent that way, Mm-hmm. And I think apart from these massive blockbusters, apart from going to watch your big Marvel films and stuff like that, people are not really going to the cinema as much as they used to, especially for horror and original films, as much as films are not amazing. And, we have stuff like Tomorrowland, was it the Disney film that came out, and I didn't see it, but it was kind of disappointing to me that film really bombed, because I'm not, like I said, I didn't see it, so I don't know if it was any good or not, but the idea that it was original, and I know based on a Disney theme park thing, but for the most part it was original and had a really good director behind it and stuff like that, and it bombed and no one went to see it. And at the same time, people are going to watch Fast and the Furious and it's making over $1 billion worldwide. Yeah. I'm not saying Fast and the Furious is really bad, but this is the world we live in now, and people are not prepared to go out and even just give original content a try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of, I think that's just in society in general, where people would rather go to, I don't know if you know the chain Applebee's or one of those like big box restaurants, that you've got that, which is fine, and people will go to that rather than go to a local restaurant, that's got people that have been in the area forever, or they've got something different. People don't want to take that risk.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I think that is the world we live in now, and you kind of hit it on the head. It's everything. It's not just films. Music is the same, and supermarket chains. Why don't we have tiny little supermarket chains anymore? Everything's Walmart in the US and Tesco's and Asda over here and stuff like that. So it's all it's all one thing. It's all, everyone just wants what they know, and they don't want to give originality go anymore, or not on a mass scale anyway. I think there are people out there that will. There definitely are fans of original films out there, but on the most part, it's hard to come across that stuff. You know, like I said earlier, cinemas around where I live don't even show independent films. They don't put out the original, even if they're original blockbusters. You might find it hard to get them at cinemas I live, because it's the franchise stuff. That's what people come in. That's how they make their money.
Yeah, we're lucky to have a few around where we are that show not only independent films, but they show a lot of older films, which are
yeah, Boston's great. There's at least 3 places off the top of my head. Just I don't even think it's 5 miles between each, and they do all kinds of programs. Go to Boston sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
It's cool. I'll just put out the names there. There's the Brattle in Harvard Square, the Coolidge in Brookline, and the Kendall is also at Kendall in Cambridge.
Yeah.
I know there's probably a couple others, but those are the big
Somerville
ones that
one, too.
I know we've visited.
Somerville one has some older stuff
Somerville
too.
Theater.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
When you've had your previous films at festivals, what's that like for you to see them on the screen and with an audience?
There's nerve-wracking to start with. As you sit down and the film's about to play, that is such a nervous time. But it is one of the most amazing experiences for me, and I imagine for a lot of other filmmakers, because at the end of the day, you're making this film, and if you're the writer as well, worked with a writer, you've got this idea and it's what you want to tell and it's your story. But for me, a film doesn't become a film until it finds that audience. You can't, if no one watches it, it's not really a film. You need that audience there. That's 50% of the game you're trying to play, and seeing it with people, and when they laugh in the right place or jump in the right place, whatever your film may be, that's the reward at the end of the day. You make your film so you can see it with people and for people to enjoy it, and just hand it over. Really, once it's done, you can just hand it over and hopefully let people enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. What is it about the horror genre that attracted you?
Ever since I was a kid, to be honest with you. I mean, but I know we're not really meant to watch horror films when we're kids, but ever since I was younger, I was finding, the late night films and, the old VHS tapes and all that. So, yeah, I loved horror as a kid, and I kind of just grew up on it, and, grew up on a lot of the 70s and 80s horror films that, my dad had laying around the house and stuff. So I'd watch all that kind of stuff, and I don't really know what it was that really drew me to horror to start with, but I kind of just got stuck there once I was there, and it's just the thing I always go back to, and I just always think there's a great story to tell. And maybe it's because horror, despite being probably one of the most popular genres in the world, is kind of the underdog in a way. People don't give horror the credit it should get. How many award shows, apart from standalone horror award shows, how many award shows you see where horror films are nominated there, and you don't see it. It kind of is the underdog. So I think that there's a lot more room in horror to explore ideas and to tell stories, and despite a lot of people not really trying to attempt to do that in mainstream horror these days, I think you can do that. You can go in and you can put in great story and great characters and explore it and hide it all within a horror film, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned, possibly having some festivals in the States and maybe at some horror conventions. Have you been to the United States before?
I have, yeah. A couple of years ago, before I made Supernova, my first proper short film, I actually went traveling for like 4 months. Only went from Tucson, Arizona, went through San Francisco, LA, Las Vegas. So yeah, I kind of experienced that side of America. I haven't been down the other side, but yeah, I mean, I love America. I'm a huge fan of America, and I would love to one day move out there and live there and make films out there.
Interesting. So, if you have your film at the conventions, at the festivals, are there any particular ones you're looking at, or you just would like to be involved in any of them?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's kind of like I would just like to get out there and do as many as possible. There isn't any that I would say I'm more pumped than any of the others to do. The ones I've picked out are all, there's probably like 10 of them that have been around for a little while, and they're kind of ones you hear people talk about. But it would just be nice to get out there and to play a couple of them and to meet people out there and talk to the fans out there and also see what other people are putting into them festivals,
Yeah. Would you say that, since you've been involved in film, that the festivals in England, have they've gotten bigger? Are there more of them?
Yeah, I would say that there are a couple more popping up. I mean, I was just looking the other day at festivals to enter, and the amount of festivals now that have only been around for like a year or 2 years, and loads of them are popping up, and every town now seems to be getting a festival, which is great. That's not a bad thing at all. I would say with the big festivals, they are getting bigger, and I think the main problem you kind of have with them is they're getting a bit too commercial now. You're getting a lot of really big festivals that are turning into, they are showing blockbuster films and stuff like that now. Mm-hmm. And while I understand that brings in the crowds and draws in the crowds, it's almost that place where like it didn't need to be. Blockbuster films already have the multiplexes. They don't need to take over the film festivals as well. We buy tickets and go to film festivals because we want to see the stuff that they're not putting in the multiplex.
Yeah, no, because here a big thing is The Walking Dead at the conventions, and it's kind of split. I think hardcore horror fans are really against it being at the conventions, and but like you're saying, it also brings in a big crowd. Is that a big thing there, The Walking Dead?
Walking Dead, yeah, Walking Dead's massive over here. It's calmed down a bit last season and season 4 as well. It kind of like weren't as popular over here, but it is. Yeah, The Walking Dead is like probably one of the biggest TV shows in the UK, as well as probably The Big Bang Theory as well is probably the other one that's massive. But horror-wise, yeah, The Walking Dead is huge.
What do you personally think is the appeal to that show in particular, instead of like Hannibal just got cancelled? Yeah. So that's sad. So why The Walking Dead? Why is this like it's mainstream, really?
It is mainstream. You're right. It is. It's definitely mainstream. I think it started off. I think especially season 1, back when Frank Darabont was in charge of it and running the show. That comes straight out of like the comics and stuff like that. So I think it had like this cult following. It started with this cult following, and then I think up through season 2 and 3, I think a lot of people just almost jumped on the bandwagon, and it was like the hot show to do. But I think it kind of, while it is mainstream, I think like for the most part, it was doing it right. It was doing kind of the zombie genre justice for me, because it was like zombie films were, if you go back to the old like George Romero films and stuff like that, they're zombie films, but first and foremost, they're about the people, right? And the zombies are just in the background. The zombies are like the zombies are not really the important part. It's just there, and that's what's happening, and that's what's going on. Mm-hmm. And when The Walking Dead come along, it kind of put the people again first, and it was the story of the people. It just so happened that they were going through the zombie landscape, and it was happening. And I think so many films nowadays with a zombie genre, they just treat it as this like shoot 'em up. You're just going out there. It's all about these zombies, and you just got to shoot them all, and it's not about character or anything. And I think The Walking Dead brought back that character side of it. So I think it was just the popularity is just because it's better than the film versions of zombies these days. I can't remember the last really decent zombie film I saw. So
yeah, I was just looking at a list the other night, and it was kind of depressing. It was the top grossing horror movies of all time, and number 1 was actually a zombie movie, and it's one I don't like at all. And it was World War Z. Oh, and I was like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah. I don't think none of us like it by that reaction.
No,
that was no. It was
close to walking out of that one. That was really.
Yeah, that was not. I know they had like a really troubled shoot and everything, but no, it was just no. It didn't really work. It was almost like it was too big. It was. Yeah. Again, it was trying to do the zombie thing blockbuster style, and that weren't
Yeah,
That's not.
Yeah,
to
and
me,
at the same time, not even really.
In the commercials, seeing zombies climb the wall on top of each other, that did not. I don't care. That's not impressive to me. And I know the back there said, "Well, it's like ants climbing on top of each other." No, it doesn't.
No. What got me
good.
and what always kills me, and like I'm just like turned off immediately by film, especially if something like that. If it's all CG.
Yeah.
Like that scene you're talking about where they're climbing the walls, I'm like, right, that's all CG.
Yeah.
Like you could have done the zombies with makeup, and you should have done them with makeup, but you didn't. You've done it with CG. So you lost my vote straight away there, you know?
Yeah.
Like everything's CG these days.
The Lord of the Rings uses CG stuff, but they've got real people. You know, you've got this entire field
that's
or
it. I mean,
and they're all people.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with using CG and using CG to enhance what you're trying to do. But when you're making stuff CG that you can physically do, you can physically create, it's almost laziness. It's just not going to, you know, the idea of CG. You know, I remember when the idea of CG and good CG was good CG when you couldn't even tell it was CG. When you looked at something, you had no idea it was CG. That's good CG, you know. We're now concerned with, like, people now think that good CG is when you're like, oh, there's a 80-foot robot with a billion moving parts. Like, yeah, I get it, it's impressive, but it's not as impressive to me as, you know, some of the stuff some people do where you don't even know it's CG, and that's incredible.
Yeah, that's something we talk about a lot too. Is it immediately takes me anyway out of a movie if you could tell it's not really there, and a lot of it I think is has to do with the weight. If it's like obviously like almost let's say a cartoon, you know it's not really there, and it just something about it just takes you out of whatever you're watching.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that is the problem with a lot of what film are doing today. I just think it's, again, like where we was talking about like ventriloquism as a dying art. I think a lot of that stuff is, you know, like makeup effects. You know, we still were getting some of that a few years ago, and now we're not getting any of it. And animatronics, you know, I'm a massive fan of animatronics, and you know, the fact that Jurassic World come out and we had maybe one animatronic in Jurassic World, and that's like, you know, I get it. You can't do a running animatronic or whatever, but you can. Come on, like we can have more animatronics and
they could have claymation.
Yeah,
look at Ghostbusters. They've got those awesome dog things in it. Those run around, and now they could probably do that and make it look a little more seamless with CG.
Yeah. Well, the original
just do
Jurassic
blends. Just blend it.
Well, that's how the original Jurassic Park was. It blended, you know, all different types of special
that was
effects.
It, yeah.
You know, it used CG too, but it, you know, also had the animatronics, and it actually had like kind of claymation kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but you know,
they did have like this amazing giant model of the T-Rex that they used. They saw there's Stan Winston has something online where you can look at all the different things the students do, and you see them building this giant Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's absolutely amazing.
That was the amazing thing about Jurassic Park. The original was the whole idea of it was the perfect marriage between animatronics and what we've been doing for years and what we had perfected, and then, you know, CGI coming in and CGI enhancing what Stan Winston couldn't do in his studio. And we could have done that with Jurassic World. That could have happened with Jurassic World, but it didn't.
Yeah, I think that was a big disappointment because we just saw that a few weeks ago and reviewed that one. And you go into it and it seems I didn't really care about any of the other Jurassic Parks. Really, I saw 2 and was like, yeah, I'm set. I don't need to see any Jurassic Park. But this one, you just had the hope because the people involved, it just seemed like if they're going to do this now, they're doing it now because they can make it right.
Yeah.
And that just didn't happen. In any way did that happen. It was...
I agree.
Yeah, because the original one for me is always one I always go to for... because... like a lot of people who listen to the show, and probably the 3 of us here, are always kind of down on the summer blockbusters. But to me, it's like, well, that's a movie that shows you can be a big, giant Hollywood movie and still be a good movie, because everything looks, not only does it look cool, so you've got all that going for it, but it's also a good movie, too. So there's no reason that it has to be, you know, just a dumb action movie.
No, and I think a lot of films can do that, and I think that there are some blockbusters. Not all blockbusters are terrible blockbusters, you know. I think there are some blockbusters come out that are intelligent and do try and tell a bit of a different story and try and take it a little bit different. And yeah, the original Jurassic Park is probably, yeah, like you said, it's probably the bar. Like that's probably the best way to make a blockbuster. Is that original Jurassic Park?
Yeah, because that it can appeal to someone who just wants to see the monsters, and people who want to see a movie too. It's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think
story's
that's
good. The cast is excellent.
The cast is great.
It's just it's everything all together. It just works as a film.
It is the perfect blockbuster.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not even a big dinosaur fan, but
no, I mean, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
So I will say, in good news about practical effects, that's like in our little horror world, that is a hot word. That is a hot topic, and every person that I've seen involved in independent movies, that's like their battle cry is that they use practical effects. So I actually think that Hollywood is probably starting to take notice of that. I can't remember what it was, but I feel like that is there's going to be that demand for it because the people that are familiar with it are so bashing what we see. There's always going to be like Pacific Rim and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
That's just here now, and that's going to be here. But I do think the more independent film is getting a foothold, like through the 5 to 10 minute shorts. I think we'll see it coming back. Which in a way, it's kind of good and it's kind of bad because practical effects is a big thing for independent films to kind of say, look, we're doing this right. So pay attention because we're actually doing the thing you want to see that you're not getting in the theater. So if the theater does start doing that, then does that affect independent horror?
But it also gives people who do a really good job the chance then to go on to and make a bunch of money. And then, if you make a lot of money, then you can also make something that you want to do, with the money you make from it.
Yeah, definitely. I really hope we do start to see that. I mean, kind of the trend in Hollywood at the moment is to take independent directors or guys that haven't made massive films, Going back to Jurassic World, to be honest, the director of that, he had only made one small independent film before Jurassic World. So, kind of everyone's doing that now, from Gareth Edwards, who was taken from the small independent film Monsters and made Godzilla, now making Star Wars, and, even like James Gunn, who made Guardians of the Galaxy. Before that, he was only making...
He was in trauma movies.
Yeah. And if, see some of his, like, Sliver and stuff like that, that's quite cool independent little horror. But, yeah, so hopefully, like, a few of these guys that are making it and are coming up and are getting noticed are going to bring that back to Hollywood. It would be nice to do it. I just think, unfortunately, it is a bit of an uphill struggle. But, yeah, I think if people start banding together and start demanding that, we're going to start getting it, especially in horror.
Yeah. I know we talked about last week, but I don't know if you're familiar with it or anybody listening who, didn't happen to hear last week. Movie Harbinger Down, which is coming out soon. And it's basically like... The Thing in the water, I think, and it's all practical effects. That's really the selling point.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. No, I hadn't heard of that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get like a real wide release, but it's coming out, I think next month. I think in August.
Oh, that's
great.
Cool. That's cool. I'll definitely have to check the trailer out tonight later.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's got Lance Henriksen in it too, which I'm always a big fan of.
Yeah. That sounds awesome.
So, Silently Within Your Shadow.
Yep.
That is your new film coming out.
That's the new one.
Yeah. Now, we already said how you can find it. You can find you on Facebook and Twitter and...
Yep. So Twitter's just at Scott Lyus, and then Facebook would be facebook.com/crossroadpics. And the Twitter is the same, twitter.com/crossroadpics. For the official Crossroad Pictures Twitter one.
Yeah.
So yeah, all the information's on there, and every little bit of news that trickles out, film festival related or screening related, is going to go in there. So let's hope a few people pick us up and a few people want to show the film.
Definitely. And you mentioned your crowdfunding earlier. Was how you got this made, and how was that experience for you doing the crowdfunding?
It was. I mean, it's the first time I've done it. It's the first. I mean, on Order of the Ram, I kind of like played about with it, and I was going to do it, and then I think we even set up a campaign, but we didn't. We didn't really promote it, and it didn't really happen. And I ended up funding Supernova and Order of the Ram myself. And then coming into this one, it was kind of the idea of we want to do it like bigger and better, and want more equipment. We want really amazing lights because we're filming inside. We want to go full out with. I mean, it is still a small budget, but we want to go full out. And unfortunately, I wasn't in a position to do that myself. So we kind of half crowdfunded this one. So it was half crowdfunded, and then I funded the other half myself. But on the Indiegogo thing, I mean, it was amazing. We didn't reach our top goal of what we were going for, but the money we did raise was amazing. And the people that backed us and still to this day are fully involved with asking me questions and watching the trailers and seeing the little photos I've put out and stuff like that. So yeah, the fans we didn't get like an abundance of them, but the ones we did get, like, I can't imagine anyone better to back this film. They're all amazing. The passion they have shown for what we're trying to do and trying to do something different, and something that a lot of people probably maybe don't understand, maybe don't see a point in trying to tell a real character story driven horror film. Yeah, it was amazing. I think that was, for me, more than the money. It's like the people, like getting them people involved and getting them people like already pumped for the film, and like they already want to see the film, and they're talking about the film, they're telling their friends about the film and stuff like that. That's more valuable than the money. In a way, the money helps pay for the equipment and stuff like that, but having people out there and talking about your film and excited about your film, and that's priceless to me.
Mm-hmm. I also want to ask, I understand that there's going to be some very impressive poster art for your
movie. There is going to be some amazing poster art for the film.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty sweet. It's like the practical effects of poster art.
It is the practical effects poster art. So yeah, I'll let you introduce it a little bit more. But from my point, just as a pre-introduction to yours, if you will. So for people listening, my idea was I wanted to do a poster and go old school on this. I wanted, like, I don't mind digital posters and stuff like I do them myself because it's the only way to do it. But for me, for this one, it was like, right, again, like if I could have anyone to do Hugo, it was Bill Moseley. So this was like, right, if I can do any kind of poster, if I want any kind of poster, I want a practical poster. I want to go old school, like Drew Struzan type, posters where it's drawn and it's really cool, and you can see it's drawn, you can see that there's a lot of work put into it, and it's just real art. So my little bridge is I found quite an amazing artist to do my poster, and that is Annabelle.
Hey, yeah, it was a lot of fun. The thing I love about making art just in general with another person is that I think it's the same for any creative person when you've got other people involved in it, is being able to deliver and knowing that you made it and they think it looks great, and they're not just being nice. It's the best. And it came out just the way I thought of, and you're very happy with it. So when you see that awesome art, no, it's Annabelle Lecter, and find me for your own poster. Because
definitely. Like,
I really enjoy
anyone out there listening to this that is making a film and wants some poster art, don't just take my word for it. You're going to see the poster very soon. We're gonna release poster very soon. But honestly, when you see this poster, it blows any kind of digital poster out of the way, or that Photoshop stuff. Like, forget that. You want to find Annabelle and get her to make you a poster. It's ridiculous. It's so cool. It's so good. And it can't be when you see it, it can't be done on Photoshop. It can't be created on Photoshop. It's something that comes from an artist's mind. It's something that is uniquely an artist's touch. It's brilliant. It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
So,
and anybody that's listening, it's probably not going to be, if you want like explosions or something like that, I'm not your person. And I would be honest with you. I'll be like, nah, it's not for me. Fine. I actually had that happen where someone wanted to do a comic with me in the style they wanted. I just find someone else because that's not my thing. So but
Yeah.
contact me anyways. This worked out great. I'm very happy with it. I'm so happy you're
good. I'm glad.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. It's really cool that you got Bill. It's going to be a boost for you, and you know it. And hopefully you'll get into something near Boston, because it'd be great to see it.
I hope so. Definitely. I'm definitely gonna shop around now for a few Boston festivals.
Yeah,
and see what we get. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it's a good place.
We'll send you some. We'll send you some ideas.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, send me some ideas, and I'll definitely enter into any festivals around your area. It'd be great to play some festivals around your area.
Yeah. Well, really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you. I really appreciate you inviting me on and getting to talk about my little film and getting to promote it, and hopefully getting a few more fans out there.
Yeah, great. And it's interesting because you're just starting out, and you're using crowdfunding on the same show tonight. We also have Robin Hardy, and he himself is using crowdfunding. So it's
yes, I saw that.
It's amazing.
Very excited to listen to that, actually.
So it's very cool. So thank you again for coming on, and you're welcome to come on anytime.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Good to talk with you.
This is Robin Hardy, author of the screenplay, and will direct and produce The Wrath of the Gods, the third film in the Wicker Man trilogy. And you're listening to Without Your Head.